Are we live?
Yes,
I
we
ain't getting
are.
a message yet. Anyway, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And for the first time in 2023, we are the CRM Playaz.
Yes, we are. And by the way, that little thing about are we live yet will be on our first blooper reel of 2023.
That'll be the next new show. Are
That's
we
right. Are we live yet?
live?
And then that will, of course, have Are We Alive Still will be the spinoff.
Now I know we're live because I just got the LinkedIn notification. So,
Oh,
and
well,
yeah, so
clear.
now, yeah, we're live. But now we know we're live because for the first time in 2023, our moment is Finn.
Whoa. Well,
That's
first,
Hawaiian.
Happy New Year, Sven. And I think I'm saying Hawaiian.
Yeah, I think that's Hawaiian.
Yeah, Hawaiian dialect.
Laka laka, all that. Actually,
Makahiki how haoli a aulakino. I do not have a good Hawaiian accent.
that's easy for you to say. All right, Sven,
Yeah,
let us know if we're right, because that would be cool to start the year off with a win.
that's right. And you know, Sven, we count on you when we really do. You are the opening to the show. It's a big burden because we're going to have a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So, Sven, vacations are out for you this year.
At least for the first couple of minutes of every Thursday at 3
That's
Eastern.
right. If you're on vacation, you have to log in, even if you're snorkeling.
So let us
Right.
know if we're right. I think we're right, but we actually need you to let us know. All right.
Validation.
It's a new year, 2023.
Yes, it is. Started off really interesting though, with great holiday season and at the same time massive layoffs in the tech industry.
And no Congress.
That oh yeah, down eighth ballot failure coming up as we do this recording.
But you know what? I believe later this month, it's an anniversary of sorts.
Ours?
Yeah. Remember?
Wait, that's right. This would be what? 14.
14, I think. 14 years.
Yeah. I
Hawaii. Happy New Year.
yeah, it's
Okay.
Hawaiian.
Okay. So yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Finn.
We're all on the roll. We're cooking with gas.
Came up with a win here.
No flights.
I knew.
Who is that?
I don't know which link. Who are you, LinkedIn user?
It's Bob Fagel. Another year of Bob not getting his security settings on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is weird, man. Hawaii. Okay, Hawaiian.
5-0.
Thank you.
There it is. All right. You looking forward to the new year?
Yeah, actually, good health, except I've screwed up my shoulder somehow last night, so it's really sore over here. But I'm semi-retired, so I literally have it's Graham who's the LinkedIn user.
Ah.
Okay, Graham, you got I can't say anything yet. We'll say it soon.
I thought you said you hurt your shoulder, having the pitchers and catchers with
yeah, well, that's no. What it's killing. If I'm not well by February, I can't go to Yankees spring training camp.
That's okay because George Santos will go in your place.
So he's already on the team as far as he knows.
Well, he's already thrown about 4 or 5 no-hitters in his career. So
that's right. Well, I actually saw a Mets fan tweet out that George Santos is the only Mets pitcher in history to pitch 6 no-hitters and hit 65 home runs in a single season.
Not to mention score 30 touchdowns and throw 45 touchdown passes.
Exactly.
And win the slam dunk contest in the NBA.
In baseball. Right. So, yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, PPN's my focus, and we'll be talking more about that later. But there's a lot to look forward to. And I don't know, I'm as optimistic about the tech industry as I am about myself, but what about you? What are you looking forward to this year? Or are you looking forward to anything?
Well, I'm looking forward to this football season being over as soon as
Yes, I know. Well,
other than that, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this is a year for better gear. There's already some good gear announcements coming out. Hey, Ray Gerber
Ray
from South Africa.
coming back soon.
Sven, how many days didn't you shave your beard? That's a good question. I don't know.
2021.
Yeah, you always know when I'm getting ready to go someplace because I have a shaved beard. Because if I just stay home, I there's no enticement. Anyway, tell us what you are looking forward to in 2023. Leave us comments. Yeah, we'd love to pop them up, throughout the
By the
show.
way,
Oh yeah, look at that. Hey, that fits well.
yeah, it does.
Pretty good. Yeah, be
The
on the lookout
gear.
for the CRM Playaz and PPM merch coming soon.
Yeah, we got a lot going for the network. Again, we're going to wait till after our guest is finished to talk about things like that.
Yeah. So in the meantime, the happy hour was really the first happy hour of 2023. If that's a sign of how it's going to go, this year, we're off to a really good start.
I mean, talk about first, we had roughly 20, I think 20 people were on. 3 people who are brand new, had never been on before at all. 2 of whom we already know for a long time, and 1 totally brand new who was brought as a guest of Ed Schlesinger. And so the variety of people was phenomenal.
Let's address. Yeah, Ray, this is always recorded, so you have a good night. Thanks for staying up to say hello. Have a good night's sleep, and in the morning you can watch us.
Yeah, it'll be available to you. Don't worry, Ray. We got your back.
Yeah. Hey, Sahil. Oops, wait a minute. There you go. Hey, Sahil.
Hey, Happy New Year, buddy.
Good to see you.
He's had some interesting changes to what he's doing too, which I'll let him tell us someday. Hey, Sahil, if you get an opportunity, come on to the most incredibly effervescent hour, which is what this year's happy hour is called.
Wasn't Sven on yesterday?
Yeah, he was.
What are we asking
He was
about?
on his Hate Google or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, we're here. We're here for you, Sven.
And right back at you, Ray. Well, we'll see him soon. Ray will be back soon. Oh, hi, Tony.
Oh,
wow.
we're Helsinki.
Wow. Welcome.
Helsinki.
Hey, Tony,
That's
what?
cool.
Tell us in the comments what you do. Tell us something about yourself. I have a thought, I'm guessing, but I'll wait till I see it.
You have a thought about Helsinki?
Well, I thought about what he may do. Well, I want to wait till I see it.
9 p.m. in Deutschland.
That's wow.
That's not Bob, is it?
No, it wasn't. I thought that was.
I don't know.
Wait a
It's a
minute.
LinkedIn user. I don't know.
Wait a minute. I thought. Well, I will find out when he
Let
gets
us
on.
know who you are, LinkedIn user. Hello, Rebecca.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and Patrick.
Yes. That picture of Patrick in the New Year was adorable.
Yeah, Patrick ringing in the New Year. That was really cool. It's 9 p.m. And we got all sorts of time zones going on here, folks. 9 p.m. where Sven is in Germany.
That's in Washington State.
So that's 3 hours behind us. All right.
Yeah, that's a Washington State name.
Oh, yeah, I like that. High Noon, Gary Cooper. Love Grace Kelly. Great movie.
Amen.
You know, my favorite person in that movie, and Lloyd Bridges was in there too, but you know, my favorite person was Lee Van Cleef.
Well, he's everybody's favorite person.
He's the guy. Oh, he's okay. So,
Tony, you know what? Startup was what I was thinking. I didn't know specifically, obviously, but Helsinki, I just saw some article, not about Helsinki, specifically about Finland being I don't know why. This is probably about 2 weeks ago. Finland being a haven for startups. Well, congrats, buddy. I hope things are going well for you. And if you can, also drop in what kind of startup? Yeah, what's the company name, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. And look, Mr. Ralph, Happy New Year to you, sir.
Yeah. Oh my God, the sunniest guy I know.
Now that's a cool title. The
Well, you
sunniest.
remember it's what is it? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is the show, right?
Yeah.
That the name of it? This is It's Always Sunny around Ralph Corb.
That could be,
Always.
that could be a good show.
It
Actually,
is.
it is a good show with Thomas and
That's
Martha.
right. CRM combo.
Oh, there it is.
Shout out to those guys. I know they're. By the way, guys, I've taken a look at and watched actually several shows. 180ops.com. I will check that out after this show is over. Thanks, Tony. I might get in touch with you. I checked out. First of all, I got to tell you, your production values are really good now. They're way better, improved. You've kicked them up a really, really good standard. Congrats on that. Secondly, your content's it's always good. So, but I was really impressed with the 4-frame thing you're doing. It looks great. You look pro, man.
All right. Now, before we bring in our guest, guess what? I have a question.
Oh God! I thought my New Year's resolution was not to answer any of your questions this year.
Oh,
that's my only New Year's resolution. All right, everybody. No, 10 a.m. PT, Liz Miller, CRM Convo next Tuesday. Watch it on LinkedIn, YouTube. I don't know if they're on Facebook or Twitter, but definitely on LinkedIn and YouTube. Make the point.
And yes, Liz Miller
can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong with her as a guest.
And I want you all to ask Liz when she's on with you guys next week. Ask her how Emma Chillin is doing.
Yeah,
just ask her that.
Emma Chillin. It's very special. Brent invented it.
I didn't really.
No, not really, but you sort of did. Let's say this. You gave it context.
Okay. I'll go with that. That sounds good.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
So before we bring on our guests, I gotta ask you a question. This is just a little something that crossed my mind. And if you were paying, you might actually get this because
211 billion.
See, I'm not gonna answer that.
I did see it.
That's because I didn't see you came on so early. I thought I'd be able to get everything set up before you came in, and I was like, damn.
Well, that makes it intriguing to the audience now, wondering what 211 billion is.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go to that stat because
I don't know any other answer. That's the only number I noticed.
There it is.
And it was 211.1 billion, if I remember. But
actually, yeah. So Adobe just today came out with their all the holiday fourth quarter spending data. And that number, total season revenue. And I think I'll be able to show. Let's see, can I do that?
211.7. I was off by 0.6 billion. A pocket change.
That's what 211 billion. I guess that's U.S. spending during the holiday, which is up slightly, like 2% or something like that. But
clearly, we're in a recession.
I would like for you to take a guess at how much of that revenue was generated. What percentage? I'll give you a percentage. What percentage of that revenue came in via mobile devices?
Mobile devices, not just online, mobile devices.
Mobile.
This is literally a completely clueless guess. 42%.
Nah, really? Is that your guess?
I could guess way higher, or way lower, but it doesn't matter.
All right.
I have no idea. I literally have no idea. Don't care either, but
let me show you.
I thought we were talking 211. That was 283.
Yeah, but this is share of revenue by $500 from October 1st.
Oh.
Look at the percentage. Can you see?
I can't see it. It's too small.
44.88. So you were off only less than 3%, which is really
Yeah,
good. 120,
I'm very, 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 very well read.
yeah, 127 billion of the overall 283 billion came in through mobile. You know what? I'm surprised. Let me bring myself back in here. I'm surprised. You know why I'm surprised? By the way, yeah, it's an impressive number. You know why I'm surprised? I'm surprised because I would have thought more would be at mobile at this point, like greater than 50% at this point.
Well,
It's
I,
close, but because
I
everybody is
would have,
always doing everything through mobile devices. I'm
you
just
know,
curious.
though, but holiday shopping still is like people. So on the brick and mortar side, let's say, there's a different thing in the air going on during the holiday. You're not just going to shop, you're going to have eggnog or whatever out. You're going to sit on Santa's lap. You're going to look at Christmas trees and Christmas lights. And, there's it's an experience kind of built around it. So I presume brick and mortar is, and this would be an interesting stat to see, is actually higher than during a normal period over a year. That's one thing. And a lot of times it's just easier to shop on your PC than it is on your mobile device because of the very nature of the fact your mobile device is really small, right? So, and they're not counting PC there; they're just counting mobile. So I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah, I would still say I'm a bit shocked because everything is going mobile. Me personally, I'm in my house mostly, so I like seeing big screens all around me. So I do
Me
most of
too.
my stuff not through mobile, but
Right.
I'm just curious. Okay, so when is the happy hour?
3:30 p.m. Eastern time, Sahil. You same as always. It's
Yeah,
again called the most.
Wednesday.
Never mind. Yeah.
When,
Oh, that's right. Wednesday. Same. Everything's the same, just except the name.
yeah, which is what's the name of it again this year?
I don't want to do it again. Takes me too long.
All right. Now I am going to turn things over to the venerable. Well, before I do that, what does Anand talk about? Holiday shopping. First of all, Happy New Year, Anand.
Happy New Year on another player in residence, along with Rebecca Wetterman, on this very
Yes.
show.
Oh, we're missing? We haven't heard from the latest one. Maybe he'll pop up. Who knows?
Alan Berkson.
Holiday shopping is like writing a paper. Need a large landscape to capture your ideas and formulate your. He's so strategic.
I know. I can't say my holiday shop. Mine's kind of, I should get that for somebody.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's how it kind of works.
Yeah, for me.
But
wait a minute before you do that.
Okay.
Because I want to. Did I say venerable? Did I make sure that get in? I want to make sure that got in. The venerable godfather of CRM, and now that we know CRM stands for
Crumb Rubber
Man. So you are the godfather of Crumb Rubber Manufacturing or manufacturer, whatever.
Listen, I was there at the beginning when their mats were no bigger than 1x1. They were little baby mats.
You were there at the beginning of Crumb Rubber Management. Is that
yes? They used to have mats that were 1x1. Now they're a conglomerate.
They've grown up. By the way,
they have, and I'm so proud of them.
Shout out to Michael Thomas for the very great image. He's a photographer. He's a professional. We got
people should go look up Michael. What's his site address? Michael MW. We'll put it in show notes on the site. But you should actually check out his photography. He's fantastic.
It's like NWT photography or something.
Yeah, something like that. MWT. That's it. MWT. Try MWT photography.
Yeah.
Somebody try that while you're and then comment whether that worked, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to it.
Okay.
I have known our guest for close to 20 years. I met him when we were both on the advisory board of the Venerable Customer Think years ago, right? Along with Silvana Bouillon and many others. Um, this is Graham Hill, and let me tell you about Graham Hill. Graham is one of the most accomplished, intelligent, and highly opinionated with content as opposed to just shooting mouth off, right? Highly opinionated with content human beings I have ever met in any endeavor anywhere. His specialty has been CRM, CX, he's customer, things that are customer facing. Graham's, he's had years of experience on large projects over time. I think he would, we can talk more about this when he gets on. I believe he would take one, I think this has changed, but he used to take one project a year and just stay with it the whole year. And these were big, like, BT and some of the other larger organizations in Europe. Graham is also, his thinking, which is based a lot around service, service design and the works of Vargo and Lush and many other thinkers. He's actually taken what they do forward. Just to give you an example, about it's probably 2 years now, maybe a little longer, he ran a series on LinkedIn where he was saying he would ask a question with basically a sort of paper napkin-like drawing about CX. And it led for what might have been the best discussion on CX I've seen, period, ever. The discussions, I mean, you had the self-serving idiots who always get on those discussions, but in general, discussion was intelligent. It was forward thinking. It was anticipatory of where things are going. At the same time, very practical in terms of how to think and what to do when it comes to not just implementation, but all kinds of specific answers to the questions he was asking. Graham is a remarkable human being and so many levels, but he does bite, so you have to watch, right? So let's bring on this amazing guy and my buddy, Graham Hill. There he is.
Hi,
Whoa.
Paul, my friend.
How you doing, bud?
Happy New Year.
You talk about somebody else for a minute.
That was you,
I'm
Dan.
going to leave now while the going's good.
That was absolutely you. It's what I think of you. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? So
we've talked about this mistake in London, haven't we?
So, I mean, why don't you tell, since you're kind of a first-time guest, really, why don't you tell people a little about your history? Because your history is really different than most and actually amazing.
Yeah, okay, fine. So I did a piece of work, I did a bid a little while ago for a trading company in the UK. And I was bidding as an individual against Accenture and Merkel for a big piece of work around data enablement. So what do we do with our data? How do we make money out of it? And I won the pitch in the end, and I did the work for London North East Railways. But my pitch was that I've had 30 clients over 30 years, your description around one client, major client a year. And those are household names. Those are companies like Ford Motor Company, Lufthansa, American Airlines, British Telecom, O2, all those big household names. So what I do is I help them to transform their businesses, basically. I work on large transformational projects, which is where these sort of things get carried out. It's usually driven by technology. Today it's driven by data and AI as well. But it's all those other things in addition to technologies where I focus, rather than just on the technology itself.
So what would be, like, picking a project, any one of the 30 really what would be sort of the, let's say how would a project like that actually look?
Okay, let's one of the most amazing companies I ever worked with, a company that I've learnt more from than from every other company put together, was Toyota. So I originally went to do a 3 months worth of work in Toyota Europe, which is based in Brussels, together with Toyota Deutschland, Toyota Germany, which is only half an hour from where I live. And my job was to look at how they could start a program around what they call repurchase marketing. So you've already got a car. How can we get you to buy another car and insure it and finance it from Toyota at the right point of time in the life cycle? So I went there to start doing that piece of work, and A year later, I was still there, and then we were looking to redesign the loyalty program and redesign the customer experience program. And then a couple of years later, I was working for the Toyota Bank just over the road. And then I became head of CRM, an interim role, while I found a replacement for the person who'd left. And in the end, I said, I've done all this work. I've worked with the main car company. I've worked with restructuring fleet. I've worked with Toyota Finance. Ran some pretty amazing campaigns that had a 35% response rate. So 35% of everybody we talked to bought a car, insured the car, and financed it in Toyota for a total of about €50, about $50 of cost. And in the end, I said, well, I've been doing this work for so long, but I'm too expensive. I need to replace myself with an employee. So I found my replacement, then I left. I'd been there since 2003 to 2008.
Wow. That's a lot of 3 months.
Not a typical example, but it's it's a good example of how things tend to work out.
All right, so let's go to a different place, because the other thing that look, we've known each other a long time. We've had many a dinner at Steakhouse at Grosvenor House. So one of the things that always, I guess impacts me. Look, I don't, to be honest, there's a lot. How would I put this? There's a lot of people out there I don't pay attention to, right? I mean, it's not like I think they're stupid. I don't, but I just see something. I think it's just another kind of either pro forma or trope or something that's just been there, done that, and they're just effectively reorganizing it in some way for their own benefit, and that's fine. Again, I don't hold any animus. I just don't listen. You're different in that regard, because the thing is, with you, you've had a really interesting take on what CX really is versus what the tropes are. And at the same time, obviously, you're of a very strong mind in terms of what you think. So why don't you fill people in on your take on CX? And you can be as specific or as broad as you care to be. But fill people in. I think this is really important.
Yeah. So let's go back to when we got to know each other. So when we got to know each other 20 odd years ago at the first CM Guru event in
that's right, CRM Guru.
in Monterey. Remember that? Monterey, California.
Yes, I do.
What a great event that was. And s'mores on the beach and the whole shooting match. As a European, that's quite an amazing thing. It's like just around the corner from some amazing landmarks and forests and what have you.
Yeah.
So when we went to that event, CRM was two things. It was TESS, technology-enabled selling, according to Gartner, and TERM, technology-enabled relationship marketing. And I think at the time, what happened was CRM and CX emerged out of these things on the recognition that, CRM emerged out of those two things on the recognition that it was to do with technology-enabled ways of managing customers. Forget about the word relationship.
Right.
Customers don't want relationships with companies by and large, even not with, if you look at the data from people like Byron Sharp, and others in their books around how brands grow. Even companies like Harley Davidson don't have strong relationships with their customers, despite what people like to talk about. So it's not about relationships; it's about customers and about management, and that's about data and technology to do those things. So CRM emerged out of those things, and of course, CRM is about three things originally. It's about marketing, generating demand, sales, closing demand, and service, the things you do afterwards when you've already got the customer's money that we don't want to spend money on at all if we can avoid it. But I think what happened was over time, people realized there's more to managing customers than just marketing, sales, and service, because marketing and sales don't create much value for customers, and we don't want to provide service for customers by and large because we've already got the money, and it's just going to cost us more money. It's going to eat into our margins. So I think CX, customer experience, arose out of those two things being merged into one, and people recognizing that the relationship with a customer, in terms of a working relationship rather than a real relationship, was something that starts way before we start to market. It starts with people seeing you driving your car, if you're in the car market, or using a product or service, or hearing about it. I remember going to a conference a long time ago in London, and Adrian Payne, who was a professor at Cranfield at the time, relationship marketing professor, great guy, very, very smart and influential. He asked the audience a question. And the question was, hold your hand up. Anybody who'd referred Virgin Atlantic to another customer. And the whole forest of our hands went up in the auditorium. And he said, put your hand down, everybody who's never actually traveled on Virgin Atlantic. And half the hands went down.
Oh,
People were
wow.
recommending a company they never actually experienced themselves, and that's where that's where the customer experience starts. But it goes all through the life cycle to the point where you finally dispose of the product or service that you're using, and you move on to something else. So all those bits, including that vast period of time where you're using the product, where the company's not particularly interested or knowledgeable about you, at least in the past, is what CX is. But I think CX has taken a wrong turn, and that turn is, I put it down and I blame Pine and Gilmore's the experience economy. So back in 1997, it must have been when it first came out, I was on holiday in the south of France. And I get up really early in the morning, around 6 o'clock, to read another chapter before my family got up. So it didn't disturb them with reading the book in the morning, because we've got other thing to do in the south of France, is reading a book about customer experience. But that book's all about the theatre of experience. It's about all those theatrical things. They talked about all sorts of examples where these sorts of things are going on. What I think was lost is all the work in the 1970s and 80s and 90s around service quality. So we forgot about the service. We focused on the theatrical experience. But customers don't go to companies, even to Harley Davidson and McDonald's and all those sorts of household names. They don't go for the experience by and large. Even at Disney World, they go for the service. So focus on the service, get the service right, use all what we noticed in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s in service quality. There's loads of books on the topic. And then get that right. 9 times out of 10, the experience will follow, because the two things should be linked. So I think a lot of stuff around CX has gone wrong recently because they're focused on memories and creating theatrical experiences, and they've forgotten about the service. And that's what customers go for. Focus on the service, everything else will follow.
All right. So one of the things that I know you're a big advocate for, and so am I, which is jobs to be done. I mean, I'm right there with you on it completely, which goes to the heart of what you just said too.
Absolutely.
But I think there's probably a decent amount of people listening in who don't really know that much. Can you kind of get into it a little bit? And
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So it's actually really quite easy if you think about it. So we've all got stuff we want to get done. I want to get something to eat while I'm traveling. I want to take a plane trip to go and see relatives or go to work, or at least in the olden days. So we all have jobs to be done, but we don't have the resources to do them ourselves. So what do? We interact with companies to get access to their resources, to make bookings for flights, to identify where the nearest restaurant is when you're traveling, whatever it may well be. And those interactions provide us with the resources to get our jobs done, to get our flight, to get our meal on the way, to do something else, whatever's irrelevant to us. We know what good looks like. We know what our desired outcomes are. And those sequences of interactions are the customer's journey. But that's the customer's journey. Companies have different journeys. So if I'm a retail bank and I'm selling credit cards, I'm going to have a credit card onboarding journey. It's a pathway. I think about company pathways and customer journeys, and those things interact whenever you interact with each other. Then there's a point of interaction between the two and a point of friction potentially. So companies design pathways. Here's your credit card onboarding journey. Here's the things we want you to do to onboard you as a credit card user. But companies have their own journeys, and that might not be the same thing. And they might not be interested. They might go elsewhere. They might go backwards, and they might pop out for a while and stop, and then come back later, or not come back at all. They might abandon things. So we have jobs to be done. We know what good looks like. We interact with others, with companies to get access to resources to help us get our jobs done. Those sequences of interactions are the customer's journey.
Yep.
Company equivalent is the product pathways or company pathways. And this is where we have the evolution of CRM and CX, I think, into real-time interaction management. So how can I optimize my interaction with you right now, the one you're doing right now? But our team tends to be focused on the now and forgets the past and doesn't really think about the future, isn't really interested in the future. So we have journey orchestration, and people like Ray Gerber knows more about that than I've ever learned. Well, it's forgotten more about it than I know about in my lifetime.
Me too.
So we have journey orchestration to knit all those interactions into a coherent journey that helps the customers get their jobs done and companies get their jobs done. And of course, we're now starting to wrap meaningful conversations around those things, what we might call conversational commerce. That's not necessarily chatbots, but it's actually recognizing that if I'm going to orchestrate your interactions in your journey, that's quite a dry thing.
Yeah.
Not very conversational, not very meaningful for customers. So we need to become a little bit more human in our interactions.
Yep.
That's where we get conversational commerce from. So we see the evolution from CRM to CX through RTM into journey orchestration onto conversational commerce.
All right. So now I'm going to see if you agree with me or not on this. And this kind of goes again to the heart of everything you've just talked about. So I've been a huge advocate of, let's say, mocking the idea that you have to delight a customer all the time as a strategy. And that, in fact, given to the point of jobs to be done, a customer's purpose for interacting you isn't to be ecstatic. It's to get something they need, right? Because they have something they have to do. And then you're important to that.
Why is this so hard, Paul? Why do we not understand? If you look at all the research, look at people like Roland Russ. So Roland Russ wrote, who's a very well-known service marketing professor, wrote a series of articles and a few years ago around delight. And delight needs two things. It needs surprise. You're not going to be delighted if you know what's coming. And it needs over-delivery. So I can manufacture surprise, or the next time around we come to the same thing, you might think, where's my delight? Where's my, whatever last time? But if I continuously over-deliver, I raise the expectation of what I'm going to get next time around. And if I don't get it, what am I going to be? I'm going to be disappointed.
Exactly.
And then people like Steve Varga, you mentioned before. So Varga wrote a paper in 1987 from memory, and that looked at this, what's called a zone of tolerance. So the idea that we have a minimal acceptable level of service and a maximum expected level, and in between is a zone of tolerance. It belongs in that, so then somewhere. But okay, if you over deliver, you may actually create dissatisfaction in customers, just as much as under delivering. So, if you're going to delight customers, do it for specific purposes. Do it at random sometimes.
Exactly. Occasionally.
It's not a strategy. It's not a viable strategy. It just isn't.
What I'm looking at always, and I've said this from the day I entered CRM, actually, which was, the way I've always simplified it was, if a customer likes you and continue to like you, they'll continue to do business with you. If they don't, they won't. Yes. But what that leads to is not delight. It says, you know what you need to do? Keep the ordinary ordinary. Make sure the things the customer expects as a matter of course don't go wrong. They go right, and make it convenient and easy for the customer. That's your objective. Make it convenient and for the customer so they can get whatever job they got to do done, and then get the hell out and go do whatever else they want to do with their life.
And above all, you go back to the service quality research in the 90s, and the 5 elements in the rater model. The R is reliability. If you want to satisfy your customers, make your service reliable. The same in and out every time, no unnecessary changes. You know what it's like when you go into a shop and they've changed all the aisles around. You're thinking, what the hell? Where's the things? I wanted a packet of paper. Where is it? I can't find anything anymore. So keep things reliable, and that's the foundation to creating good service that people will come back for. You can do other things to make things more interesting. Actually, you raised a really important point when you're talking about when you see the same person. There's some research a few years ago by Liliander and Roos around spurious versus real relationships. And look at the human type of relationships we have with our friends, the relationships you and I have, Paul, over the last 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Versus spurious ones we have with companies. And a very, very tiny number, less than 5% of customers had what they called real relationships with companies. And almost invariably, they were with a person in that company. So in a day and an age when we're automating the hell out of everything, we mustn't forget that if you want to build strong working relationships with customers, get things right, if you want to go beyond that, then you're going to need to have people they can interact with, who can help them get their stuff done, who can occasionally delight them if it's necessary, typically to recover customers rather than anything else. You know what? This is rocket science. We've known about it since the 1990s, but
I know.
with every new generation of managers, they forget everything and they have to learn everything from scratch.
Well,
Bonkers,
that's why us old guys are around to teach them.
there you go.
So I think, does Anand have a question for you? I think, yeah, Anataka has a question for you. So what do you think?
Good question. Obviously, it depends on the industry you're working in. Let's take airlines. So I spent a little while ago working with a major European airline, looking at service innovation. If I want to create differentiation, and premium, then I've got to get the basics right first. So that service element is the foundation. If you don't get the service right, you're not in business for very long. Certainly not a service company like an airline. If you want to create premium customers, you've got to go beyond reliability to how we interact with the customer, to the tangible elements in the lounges and livery and all those sorts of things. And then you can provide a premium service for those who want a premium service. Not everybody wants a premium service. In my travels to London, when I was working in London every week, I stopped traveling on full service airlines and started traveling on Ryanair. Why? Because the most important thing for me was actually leaving the airport and getting to the destination. And my airline that I was using, a German airline, stopped being reliable. And sometimes I had to make a very last minute purchase of a flight on Ryanair to get home or get to work. So get your service stuff right, and then look at differentiation around other things, the tangible elements, the how you treat the customer, the personal relationship stuff through service, etc. That experiential element that we talked about a little while ago. But get the service right. If you don't get the service right, you're not in business very long. It's really easy.
All right. So there's a penultimate question and then an ultimate one, which I think you're going to answer right. But Brent, you know what the ultimate one is, of course. All right. So, but the penultimate question is this. All right. So if look, I know you're pretty much like me, is not a great believer in forecasting things, right? Because you can make all the claims of how the future is going to look, but typically you're wrong. But here's the question. It's 2023. A new generation a younger generation is beginning to take over the reins of power in many places, except the United States Congress, of course. And they consume content differently than we did. Not entirely, but somewhat. So the question is, how do you take what you know about CX, for example, and apply it to the fact that we're dealing with a generation that ultimately, they'll end up just like their parents, because every generation does. But for now, they're thinking differently, they're consuming differently, a little bit more, let's call it shorter bursts of consumption. So how do you deal with that, given what you've known, the experience you've had, and the fact that these guys are kind of tilting the boat somewhat?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I think Brent already answered that question partially in his earlier bit around what proportion of sales were on mobile telephones, handys in German. And the answer was 44% from memory.
Yep.
So the first thing to answer your question, I think, is you need to use the devices they want to use. If they're using mobile devices and using, whether that's a native app or a mobile website, increasingly it's going to be a native app. They need to be using their device, whatever channels and devices they're using. Stuff that we've done in the past, starting with direct mail and all those wonderful things back in the 1980s, or actually back in the 1950s from Lester Wunderman's work. But all those sorts of things move today into RTIM, real-time interaction management, using personalization techniques to identify what's the next best action when you're in the middle of an interaction. Those things work just as well for fuddy-dudders like you and I, Paul. I consider myself a fuddy-duddy now, but I know you're not. You're still young at heart, of course.
No, I'm venerable.
Yeah, of course you're venerable. You make it sound like some sort of ancient Chinese monk, venerable Greenberg. There's some amazing Confucian statements going to come out in a minute.
Right.
I wish you would do anyway.
Yeah, mine's more confusing statements.
Precisely. So we can use modern technologies. We can use the RTIM technologies, the Pegasus word and the Adobes and what have you, to be able to manage interactions with customers one moment at a time, driven by data, driven by decision, driven by AI increasingly. It's no different to what we do. All we're doing is offering different things. But again,
Yep.
use the channel that customers use, make the contents relevant for them, work with them to get consent, at least in Europe, to be able to communicate with them, because that makes things a whole lot easier. And for goodness sake, make stuff that's relevant for customers rather than relevant for marketers. You know, if I'm a marketer by profession or by leaning, if you like, and I turn most marketing off. Why? Because it's rubbish. It's not about me, it's about them. Make marketing about me, I might buy. Make it about you, no chance.
Yep. Amen. All right. So Brent, do you want to ask the ultimate question?
Yeah. This is, I think I know the answer, or at least I know this would be a safe answer. Do you even pay attention to American football?
I have been able to watch it in the past, but of course, being from the north of England originally, then I'm more of a soccer fan than American football.
I kind of was thinking that.
But I tell you what I do pay attention to.
Okay.
It's not only American football. But I read a great book called. I mean, it's built around the story of the Oakland A's and the application of data science.
We're talking Moneyball here.
Moneyball, indeed. And I read another one a couple of years ago when COVID started, thinking things were going to change. I read something interesting. I think it was called Astro Ball. It's about the Houston Astros and doing the same thing. Absolutely fantastic book.
Wow.
Talking about how data has become infused in US sports, where you've got statistics coming out of your ears. What I see now, I read the autobiography of Jurgen Klopp recently, the amazing German manager now of Liverpool, and how they use data in soccer, football in the UK, soccer in the USA, to do the same thing. So, although I don't watch so much American football, I tell you what I do like. I like Aussie rules football because it's much more violent. Much more violent than both American football and soccer, of course.
All right,
I think to watch.
I take that as you don't like the Patriots, so we're good.
That's pretty much the only wrong answer is you don't like if you like the New England Patriots, you never get invited back.
That's fine. That's fine. We know
your answer.
The data thing is really fascinating there, and that's something we borrowed from the USA. And you know what? I'm really grateful that we did.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for. Okay, go ahead.
Before you go on, and if you want to, this is actually a pretty interesting question. Anna would like to hear your perspectives on global differences of CX expectations. I would like to too. So
me too.
Thanks.
What a tough question to ask at the end. Should really go back to the beginning and start at the beginning, shouldn't we?
You go right ahead. You got some time.
So let's see. So obviously, I think the US expectations of service are higher than Europe by and large. Some European countries don't have a strong service reputation for a variety of reasons, because they're more process-oriented rather than people-oriented. But I also spent a year living in Singapore. So let me answer it from their perspective, where service is quite obsessive. But that's a cultural thing. So if I'm going to put them in order, I would say Europe at the bottom, USA in the middle, Singapore, Asia at the top. I also spent some time in China as well, which is a very different environment, but in certain terms of westernized Asia, so Mike puts in Singapore, service there was and working with Toyota, service is an art form. So in Toyota, in Japanese, there's a concept called omotenashi, and omotenashi is the art form of being a good host. So they've taken it so far; it's become an art form in Japanese.
Wow.
Omotenashi. When I was at Toyota, we talked about with Lexus, how can you create a omotenashi type environment in the dealerships, the customers of a Lexus? No other manufacturer I've worked with is even thinking anywhere close to that. So yeah, Asia Pac at the top, USA in the middle, quite close, Europe trailing in the background.
Thank you. Perfect.
I hope that answers your question. And anyway,
yeah,
that's great, and because it sounds to me like it's cultural and it's baked into the culture of at least Asia Pac. And if it's not cultural, it sounds like it can be very tough to get good at it.
If the technology we use is only emulating the cultures we would otherwise used to serve people. All it is a replacement. So the service culture from Asia, from Japan, or from Singapore is going to be replicated in technology they use to deliver service.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, you didn't like the Patriots, so this has been a great conference.
It's been absolutely off the charts, really.
This is like a catch-22 question, isn't it? Either you're right, or you're wrong and you're right, or you're right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you were right.
You were right. So we will be talking more, as you well know.
We will.
And
yes. And I look forward to that.
Thanks for making time. I know it's late over there, but we appreciate
my pleasure.
Really appreciate it. It was wonderful.
To you again.
All right, my friend.
Take care, sir.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
That was great. That was fun.
Wasn't he is terrific. I tell you, I've known him 20 years. It's funny. I was thinking while we were talking about other people we've known. There's Naris Ichambadi, who used to run Quero, and now he's the head of IT strategy or something for Universal Music, right? I mean, it's like Silvano was there. I mean, this was this whole team of people who have stayed in touch, at some level over the years. And Graham and Silvana and I think are the two I've stayed in touch with, the two of them by far the most. And I just love Graham because his insights are really, they're insights with a lot of experience behind them, but he's also able to elevate them to something you get. You can understand what he's talking about. And and the insights are always very, not only useful, but they're practical, if you know what I mean. Meaning there's a playbook element to them that are really important. And Graham's wanted to me that if I'm picking leading thinkers in CX, and he's right up there at the top.
No, I appreciate that. It isn't just a bunch of words.
No, well, you can see he's very, very engaging speaker, right?
Yeah,
conversation.
A lot of engaging speakers, but it's beyond the words. It's the experiences, and it's the deep thought behind those words that I really appreciate. That's great. We'll definitely have to have more. I'm surprised it took 2023.
That's all right. There's things to talk about. So
I wanted to end on this because
okay.
you kind of touched on it, and maybe people are still around if you have some thoughts. Salesforce announced 8,000 people getting laid off. Amazon, I think it's like 17,000. Is this a sign, or is this as bad as it's going to get, do you think?
I think let's say this. I think it will continue. I don't think it's as bad as it's going to get. But at the same time, look, on the one hand, the companies we're hearing about are big companies and they're making big layoffs. There are companies that are big companies making smaller sets of layoffs that I can speak to, that I know occurred, a few hundred as opposed to say thousands. There are small companies making cost efficiency cuts, right? So those are all going on now. And, despite the fact, to be perfectly honest, I really am not very happy about the way Salesforce did this. But Mark did say something which was, I think, at least right. But let's say had a causal impact on the layoffs themselves, which is that he said, look, demand for what we do is tightening. It's not as robust as it was. We overhired. Again, the overhiring part I'm putting aside. It's the fact that demand is tightening. And I think, for the first time in a while, it's tightening in the tech industry where it hasn't, despite the rest of the world doing dramatically, either imploding or at least shrinking. Tech has always been kind of isolated from that and all it was doing was growing at a lesser rate. I think now that tightening of demand has hit the tech industry and it's shaking it up. And I think there will be more. I don't know if they'll be as dramatic as Salesforce or Amazon or even Oracle's was a few months ago, but I don't think this is as bad as it's going to get. I don't think it's going to get like horrifically. I don't believe we're going to go into a recession, but I'm not an economist either. So that's what I think. I mean, what do you think?
No, I thought you were retiring, going into semi-retirement to become a semi-economist. So
No, I've always been a secret economist. I just didn't tell anyone
okay.
or ever said anything about the economics.
I've had some really interesting conversations around this lately. I can't bring up any names or anything because it's
Oh,
not.
yes, you can. It's just you and me.
But I think, and I'm a bit. This is a general thought, a general kind of surprise, or maybe I don't know if that's the right word or not. But when the pandemic hit, changes were forced. People's behaviors and the way they did things, the confusion.
That's Graham. That's Graham.
Well, it's better to be the Confucian economist than the confusion economist. Yeah. There's a lot of what I see out there.
Yeah.
But
the CE.
I think
the OG.
Yeah, I think there, when everything shut down and you couldn't go to the stores, so people had to shop more online for regular stuff. And that presented a dramatic and overnight acceleration into you needed to have a digital transformation. You had to be able to engage with customers directly. So like you said, people were buying all sorts of platforms, all sorts of technology. But that was always just an anomaly. It wasn't that pace could not keep up. That you couldn't expect this kind of increase to happen to continue. As the pandemic ran on, things were accelerating, but not at the same level. And it just feels like people and the big companies included, they brought on so many people to kind of handle that, but it just doesn't feel like what the plan was really, I don't know, well thought out or whatever for when things go back to being open. And because you can't, I mean, Amazon, I think, what do they hire like 500,000 people over 2 years or something?
Yeah.
Jeez, and that was when things were like this. Things couldn't continue like this. When they started going like that, things were going to have to change dramatically. And I think we're seeing that now, and it's very unfortunate. But is it unforeseen? I think it had to happen, which is really bad. But I don't think there's a way around it.
The reality is people are trying to, at this point, I think, look, the other thing is just on a pure standpoint of how people invested during COVID, aside from personnel, there was obviously on the tech sector, there was a huge need for technology. And
remember, even buy a camera or a webcam or microphones, you couldn't get any because they're all just gone,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that and when you've got these big tech companies building out systems to support some form of health initiative, either with a government or general, create a database for COVID or try to do some good by providing systems that they're creating. There's a big cost to that, to those companies. And there comes a point where you pay the piper for it. And the problem always is the way cost efficiencies get handled or cost cutting gets handled is get rid of what the Marx always called variable capital, right? Meaning the people, right? Not the fixed capital, meaning the goods and the goods. And so, which is a shame. And to me, it's a horrible way of doing it, but I don't run company for a reason. I'm not good at it. So,
I mean, it's something that you when you look at businesses, and particularly when there's this huge behavioral shift that was forced on people, meaning people couldn't go to work People couldn't go shopping. I mean, they had to stay inside. You had to buy technology to allow them to do their job as best as they could. Technology companies saw an opportunity. They had the staff up in order to meet the need, and that need just couldn't accelerate into infinity. And people started being able to travel more and go out more, and it's one of those things that you can honestly put a lot of this on the pandemic, in terms of reaction.
I agree. And the other side, from that standpoint too, I guess the best way to put it is, so I don't think we're going to see like over the top crash. I think we're going to see continued layoffs though. Again, that's what I'm saying. Is it going to get worse or better? I don't even know how to say that. Right? I just think the layoffs are going to be continuing for a while, and they're going to be hitting in places that will never get announced either. I know of several people I know at smaller companies who I've spoken with in the last, including up to and including today, who have been laid off. Right. And this is just much smaller companies, but cost cutting is what they're looking at, so there's a very intellectual discussion going on in our comments, by the way. So that, well, go up up two first.
Well, I wanted to save her for last because she's just
okay. All right. But go up to Tony's comment, what he head of Graham's there, what he wants to be outside of a computer.
I already put that up there.
Yeah, I didn't. No, that's me. Go down two.
I think I put that.
There we go.
Yeah, I put that
he wants to be a stoic behavioral economist.
Yeah, I have to read before I even know what that means. But
then LinkedIn, Graham made a good comment. Marcus Aurelius, who was a Stoic, right? He was a Roman Stoic. He was actually, I don't know if he's called the father of Stoicism or not, but he's somewhere in the pantheon of Stoic.
I thought that was the guy that lived a couple of streets down from me when I was growing up, Marcus.
Marcus Aurelius. So anyway, it's going to continue, and it's sad, and hopefully you and I and others can help those displaced folks find jobs. The other thing I think, which has also kind of impacted it, even though it was meant to be kind of when they had the Great Resignation, and then they had the quiet quitting, which is do your minimum job. Well, and then you hear Mark Benioff come out and say, well, our newer workers their productivity is low based on the prior white heat's level of productivity they expected. I think quiet quitting is responsible, at least some of the people who have been targeted to be laid off. Right. So, and it's a shame. Again, I get the reason for it, because they should be paid for what they actually do, as opposed to be paid some amount that then expected to exceed it. So,
yeah, no, I think the companies saw a need, and then they saw an opportunity to really take advantage of these circumstances. In terms of bringing on. I mean, Amazon, how many did they bring on just to get their first? They had the problem with supply chain, and they had the problem with getting things delivered, so they staffed up because they couldn't. They had to meet their issue. And then I think you saw when you're hiring like 200,000 people in a couple of months or whatever.
Yeah, that's beyond seasonal workers. Right?
Yeah, so they were trying to anticipate based on what was going on, but even trying to anticipate what happens for the anomaly, to take advantage of the anomaly, so to speak. Eventually, the anomaly goes away, and you go back to the norm, and we're kind of faced with all this stuff here.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a regression to the mean, basically.
Yeah, this is what
yeah.
And unfortunately,
on that note, I want to get to 2024 really quick now. So can we just say Happy New Year 2024 to the next episode?
All right, we're just going to take a long nap, and we'll see.
Right, we'll see you in a year.
Before we do that, Happy New Year.
Oh my God. Huge hug. Happy New Year, Tina. You are awesome. Spectacular.
Absolutely. She's the better half of the Gilmore Gang production team, by the way.
We love you, my dear. We love you without any question.
Yeah,
Unquestionably. What's the
absolutely.
word? Not unreservedly, unconditionally. That's the word.
Unabashedly.
Unabashedly, unconditionally, unreservedly. We love you, Tina.
There it is. That sounds like a song of some sort.
Or that's a new movie title, like, Love Actually.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we do. All right. So, first one of the year in the books. How do you feel?
I loved it. I actually really like having Graham as the guest for the first one because he always like
He's so
gives me
soft
things to,
spoken and
yeah.
he doesn't have a lot of thoughts. He just, no, I'm just kidding. He
Yeah,
was,
right. The man he's a fount of wisdom that he knows how to present to, which is the other part. I just
yeah,
love like listening to him.
it's good. I enjoyed
And
it.
plus 20-year friend. What can I say?
Yeah, that's really cool stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. So, I mean, this is just the first. We got 52 more weeks to do this for this year.
I'm looking forward to all of them.
And you know what I'm looking forward to right now?
I am too. Where is she?
I got so many pictures now, but there she is.
This one is the picture.
We will see you next Thursday, and hopefully, maybe we'll see some of you next Wednesday on the what?
On the most incredibly effervescent hour.
Oh my God.
Meh.
That.
Meh. Or meh, if you like it.
There
You
it
can
is.
go with the irony.
See you next week.
No, we got to do the out. We're not just till next week. And your
Oh, I forgot. See, I forgot. It's another year. I'm forgetting.
That's
I'm Brent Leary.
And I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are still the CRM Playaz, and we will see you next week.